All right, people, here we go. This is a crazy story.
Hi guys, welcome back. And I wanted to do another one in the security talk that I did. I talked a little bit about my old security work. I was doing that for about 23 years and it was popular enough. People asked, can I do another one? So here we go. And this one's all about strip clubs. And I worked in a couple of different strip clubs for about 4 years. And I just wanted to break down some of the myths about strip clubs and some of maybe the unknown truths about them as well.
We're not going to pause it a lot because people fucking hate it. Y'all really want me to steal content. I mean, pretty much, you guys want my channel to be struck down. But with this one, we're going to learn a lot about male nature, female nature, why guys go to strip club, their women's experience in strip clubs. And so it's going to be a pretty all-encompassing psychological breakdown of that type of environment. And I think I think we're going to be a little shocked with this video. And if you guys want to work with me one-on-one, to book a phone call, maybe a girl is playing you, a guy is playing you, and you want to improve your dating life, you could book a one-on-one phone call by clicking on the description down below.
And most people imagine that strip clubs are these places where there's a bunch of sort of downtrodden girls that are having to work there because they're down on their luck and they desperately need some money, and then these kind of misogynistic men turn up that are really rough and ready and very confident and arrogant, and they're sort of throwing money at these poor girls and ordering them around and all that kind of thing. Now, I'm sure sometimes that goes on, but I'm just talking about my experience. So, the strip club I worked in made the majority of its money from men who were generally single, very lonely, and probably had never had a girlfriend. And this was kind of a girlfriend
That's crazy.
experience for those guys. So they would turn up, they were very, very like scared and humble at the door. I used to have to go up to the door and greet them.
Can I get
Anyone
some
that rang the
pussy,
door, I
mate?
would then
Come
let them
in.
down into the club. And these guys generally, probably 90% of the people that spent any significant amount of money in there were that kind of character. They were nice guys, they weren't unpleasant, they were very nice to the girls. They lacked kind of social skills a lot of the time,
Mm-hmm.
so they weren't probably very good at talking to the opposite sex. Maybe it's something they'd just never done before,
Yeah.
and they would
Those are
often
the,
pay the girls to have what's called a sit down. So
a lot of the times those guys have money. And a lot of the times they're programmers. A lot of the times those are the guys that are really nice, really sweet, single mothers. They didn't don't never had a dad to know how to be a man. They worship the woman, and the women there are the opposite of that. And it's kind of like it's like a symbiotic relationship.
if you go to a strip club, the options are you can sit there and watch the girl dance on stage and maybe give her a tip for dancing on stage. You can ask her to take you off for a private dance, and that will
Oh,
cost you X amount of money, 20 or 40 pounds, whatever it is, and she will
oh,
give you a very intimate, close private dance. In the UK,
oh.
normally that is no touching, that's generally the rule.
Ah,
That sometimes gets broken, we'll get into that. And then
rules are
you
meant to
can
be
also
broken.
pay for what's called a sit down, which is where the clubs make a hell of a lot of money because the guys simply pay these girls to sit there, have drinks with them, and talk to them and kind of behave like a girlfriend would behave.
This is like if you're a stripper, you might as well get a degree in psychology because this is where I imagine some strippers kind of feel bad for these guys. You know what I'm saying? Because you never hear in the ad strip for men, be a psychologist. That's pretty much it. And what's happening is that guys, listen, some guys are so unattractive. I'm gonna be honest with you, they're never even recognized by women. Never recognized. And that loneliness is what drives them to sex addiction because these guys are sex addicts. The loneliness and the low self-esteem drives them towards sex addiction. Why? Because when you feel bad about yourself, when the girl rejects you, just go watch porn, jack off, and feel better. Right? So you're watching porn and masturbating regulates your emotions. So then you begin to associate happiness and regulating of your emotions with sexual experiences. And that causes the objectification of the woman, where that's all they see in women. They don't see the other parts. And these strippers receive that objectification and they resent that. So they'll secretly hate these guys. But it's really self-hatred.
So most of the girls had second and third names. So the guy, this sort of lonely type guy would sit down with the girl and her name was, say, Roxy, and then
Butterbugs.
he would sort of get talking to her and he would say, oh, I bet your name's not really Roxy. If you really liked me like you say you do, you would tell me your real name. And she would say, oh, fair enough. I do really like you. You're just
Oh,
the kind of
shit.
guy that I've always dreamed of.
Oh, they do
My
that.
real name's Claire. So, of course, he then is very happy because he thinks he's got some sort of emotional relationship going on with this girl. And he would generally come up to me
So
when I'm working and say,
exclusivity.
oh, you never guess what, mate, this girl's told me her real name and she really likes me. I think I'm in with a chance. And I'd say, well, okay, bud, cool. And I didn't want to sort of break the myth, if you like. And then he would spend more money, and most of these guys weren't rich, so they would spend vast
Oh.
amounts of money that they could not
Oh,
afford to
shit.
spend. It
Well,
was
sex
pretty sad
addicts
to
then.
watch.
Sex
And
addicts.
but some of them cried on me on the way out. At the end of the night, they would say, "I've spent all my rent money. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm in love with this girl," and they would come back week after
Oof.
week after week after week, and they would continue doing the same thing.
Sex addiction. Sex addiction and gambling addiction. I well, alcoholism, but sex addiction is the first addiction most addicts have. It's a real thing, guys. That's why you got to learn how to get women the normal way. That's why I make this channel. Coming from me, like you got to learn how to get women the normal way. This shit is a dark light. Oh God, the only fan guys. Oh my lord.
And in the end, some of them would find it. Well, I don't think your name is Claire. I asked around the club, and some of the other girls said it wasn't. Then the third name comes out. Well, actually, my name's Mary. And then the guy's happy again because
Well,
he
they're
thinks he's
stalkers.
really got to the truth this time. And that would just continue. And the girls would generally tell these guys, hey, don't I'll meet you outside of the club, but I'll meet you next week. And and then next week would come and, oh, I can't meet you this week, I've got a doctor's appointment. There would always be
Oh my
reasons why the girls couldn't
God.
meet these guys, but they would just keep them hanging on for the longest amounts of time. And
That's trifling. That's a crazy game. That that that's trifling. Whoa.
eventually these guys were kind of
Get a
catch
hit.
on to the fact that they were never going to get an actual date with
It's
this
all about the
girl,
money,
that they had
man.
just wasted all their money, and that was the end of that. The girls were very, very good at taking money off of these guys like that, and certainly the power game there was in the hands of the girls taking the money. It was not in the hands of these guys. Then you had like the other 10% that would come in, that would be like stag groups, maybe like drug dealers, like small time drug dealers would come in there thinking they could like chat up the girls and take them off and whatever. And just like flashy guys that would come in, and they generally were not good customers because most of those guys had a big ego. So most of those guys believed that they didn't need to pay for female attention, which probably some of them didn't, and therefore they weren't going to pay for female attention. They were there to chat up the girls, to
Oh
show
no.
off, and to try and persuade the girls to leave with them or to spend time with them outside of.
I coach guys, I used to pick up. And yeah, there were some guys who liked to pick up strippers. They saw it as like a prideful thing. There was this one, I think, if you guys, Luke, RSD, Luke talked a lot about that, where he used to pick up a lot of strippers. I don't know how he did it, to be honest with you, but yeah, the stories were that he would go to strip clubs and pick women up. But it's like, I don't know about strippers, man. Not condescending, but I wouldn't want to meet her in that context, right? Because in that context, it's just how are we gonna say we met, man? It's a hard thing to tell people. Oh, we met at the strip club, and I don't want to lie with you and say how we actually met. my conscience can't take that. So I don't know, man. That's crazy.
The club.
All right, we're gonna go to a quick little commercial break to pay these bills, and then we're gonna go back to the video. All right, guys, we're gonna have a brief intermission so that I can tell you guys about our new bundle that we're doing, where you guys can purchase all of my courses and get it at a discount. So this bundle is pretty much the bundle where you could just buy all of my courses. You could buy Nice Guy, which is a training course on how to come across more assertive, how to come across more confident, how to not give off nice guy vibes. You guys can get access to Dark Game, which is my full dating course on how to meet women in different scenarios, how to attract women, how to make sure you don't come across as creepy, and essentially how to act like a man and not act like a doofus, to be quite honest with you. And you get all of these bonuses, which is the bonuses of Dark Game, the bonuses of Practical Mastery, which is about how to master a skill, Social Mastery, which is how to master your social life, and the Laws of Human Nature, which is a book club video that I had dissecting Robert Greene's book. All of this is naturally at around naturally is at $346, but you guys can purchase this bundle and get it at what's the price again? Get it at 238 pretty much. So you guys can purchase it right now. It's a money back 30-day money back guarantee. It's a good way to, rather than just buying them individually and paying extra, you guys can just purchase everything at a discount price. Now, the only thing I don't like is the fact that I'm giving you a lot of information at the same time. That makes me kind of scared, because a lot of times people don't do the things that I teach when you get too much information. But I've gotten too many requests to do this, so I'm just satisfying you guys. Purchase it right now by clicking on the description down below where it says purchase the bundle. All right, let's continue with the video.
And maybe sometimes they would have a couple of dances, but that would generally be right at the end of the night when they kind of realized that not much else was happening, and they would get a dance. So then the other myth about strip clubs is that all the girls are absolutely gorgeous all the time, you know, and they're really nice. And I was so lucky to work in there. You know, that's what all my mates would say to me. Oh, you're surrounded by all these gorgeous strippers all the time. You know, it's like the dream job. And I maybe thought that the first week I was there, but believe me, it was not, because when the club isn't operating, the girls are all in there and they've got no makeup on. They're all in their dressing gowns and like big pants, and they're like laying around with hot water bottles and stuff, and they're all moaning and they all complain, oh man, I've got period pains, my stomach's hurting, oh, I've had diarrhea all week. All these like girl gossip that I really didn't want to hear, that guys probably don't normally hear. And I was the only guy in the club, so I was like stuck with this host of like female gossip going on, all about their problems and the problems they had with their boyfriends.
Well, it's the humanity of it. You gotta understand, people are used to the fantasy that women don't have pain, women don't shit, women don't fart. Like that whole fantasy, when they see that, it pops that bubble. Like it pops the bubble, right? They genuinely think that the stripper wakes up with her high heels and like it's, well, maybe she has a pole in her room. I've seen that. But like, you get what I'm saying? It's like, well, that just shows. And again, I'm not even talking bad about her, because I'm the same way. Like, it's just that some guys, sex addicted men, in that and let me tell you, sex addiction is more lenient than you think. Sex addicted men have a tough time really getting to know a woman, because the act of getting to know a woman is getting to know things that they don't show you in porn. When you're so used to seeing porn scene, and then you actually meet an actual woman, it's not the same. It's not the same. And some of these guys will get completely disillusioned with women because they're getting to know one, because they're not seeing the cartoon. It's like in cartoon, you get used to like, oh wow, Daffy Duck gets hit and he recovers. Well, what happens when you get hit one time? You might have fucking, like, you may get brain injury forever. Like, it's not the same as a cartoon. People, it's the same thing, man. They fantasize women so much, fantasize men so much, that when they actually meet one, they get turned off. It's like, nah, that's how they are, man. That's how they talk. They're not these angels.
In the week, and you know, all their life problems and stuff, and then they would be arguing with each other and having a go at each other. So that was not a erotic experience for me. Most of the time I was trying to like break up verbal arguments between all these girls. Then sometimes that would lead to actual fights between the girls. So a couple of times the girls would get so angry with each other because it was a competitive place, right? So what people might not understand about the clubs is generally this is how a club works financially. The girls pay the club. So the girls turn up, they give the club a fee. Let's say it's like £50 to dance for the night. That's the club's fee. The club will then take a percentage out of each dance as well that the girl does. So when the girls have paid that money, they've like paid for their spot at the club. When the guys come in, and if it's not particularly busy, especially, the girls are then very, very competitive about getting money out of that guy because they've paid money to be there. So they want money back. You know, they want to leave with more money than they came with. And the girls get competitive. Now, when I mentioned about the no touching bit, this is where that comes in, because if the girls aren't making much money and a few guys come in and it's a quiet night, how are the girls going to persuade those guys that that's the girl that they should spend all their money on? Well, of course, there's a couple of certain ways to get a guy to kind of do that, and one of them would be to touch that guy or to, you know, go a bit further than maybe the other girls do, and then of course the guy's going to spend all his money on the girl that is.
Physical touch is like an electric charge to men. It literally like just permeates his whole body. Like but the key to a physical touch, and this applies to both men and women, is a light touch. Don't give, like, for example, if you go like that, right? What happens? It doesn't feel as electric, right? But go like that, it feels more electric, right? Big touches don't feel electric. Small touches feel electric. So when you are touching someone sensually, it's all about the light touch, the touch that puts you to sleep. And that's most likely the touch that they have. It's like very light on their hand type of stuff. And when you do that, man or woman, especially when it feels accidental, it feels like electricity.
Doing that really angers the other girls because they're all watching each other like hawks. So as soon as one of the girls sees another girl like step over the no touching rule or do anything like that, or slip the guy a number or something that's like a bit more than is allowed, all the other girls will then hear about it. They will get super angry because now that girl is like usurping the customer, basically.
Yo, strippers.
So
this feels worse
fights
than
can break out. And
crazy.
I remember one night I had to go home and explain to my then girlfriend, I'd come back from this club, I had scratches all down the front of me, I had scratches all down the back of me on my back, big red like 5-finger scratch marks. I had makeup all over my shirt, front and back. I absolutely stank of perfume. I was covered in like glitter that they all wore on their bodies. And so my missus is like, what on earth have you been doing? You know, she thought I'd been in like a mass orgy. But what had actually happened was a fight had broken out, and I'm trying to split these girls up, and they're like clawing each other over my shoulders. And as they're doing that, they're clawing the hell out of me at the same time. So that was not a fun evening at all. A lot of the time the girls would get really drunk and abusive to me normally. So on a quiet night especially, the girls would be allowed to get drinks from the bar, you know, and there was like rules of you're supposed to have 2 or 3 drinks.
Well, it's the thing, a lot, and again, I don't want to generalize, but a lot of them are drug addicts because they get addicted to drugs, alcohol. Like, they start off sober, and a lot of them end up, if they stay long enough, it truly does depend.
Something like that, because obviously it's not professional to get smashed at work, but no one really paid much attention to that. And the other clubs I've been to, pretty much the same. The girls could do what they want. The girls that were professional and made money didn't drink a lot. The girls that were maybe not so professional, they sometimes had nights where they went wild and drank absolutely tons, be there for a long time, and then got crazy and would basically turn on me and go mental at me for telling them off, because I would have to go up to them and say, you can't go out on the stage, you're wobbling about or whatever. So they would go angry at me about that. I also had the dubious job of, because I was the only guy there, it was deemed by the house mistress that ran the place that I should be the one who tested the girls out when they came for an audition, which again, everyone sort of said to me, oh, you lucky so and so, you get to have all these lap dances. But what they kind of didn't understand was 90% of the girls that turned up were either crazy, had like personal hygiene issues, were not attractive in the least, and the mistress thought it was hilarious not to tell the girls any of the rules. So I would be sat in this chair, and some girl that was not at all attractive to look at, which I'm not going to go at her about that, but not attractive, had BO, and then would be rubbing herself all over me because she thought that was what the club was all about, and of course the mistress and all the girls would be laughing their heads off behind me because they would find that absolutely hilarious. And I'm a bit of a germaphobe, so I used to absolutely hate it. And the guy that owned the club eventually went into prison for
Oh,
various
trafficking?
different issues, but
That's
he
crazy.
would come in and get absolutely smashed on brandy, and during this time the girls would then fleece him for every penny he had because he was quite rich. So if he was very drunk, the girls would all get as much money out of him as possible, doing dances and sort of sitting with him and just getting paid to sit with him basically while he would buy them all drinks.
That's crazy.
But he would then turn
That's the thing is that these girls are opportunists. I mean, I don't blame them, but that's what I'm trying to say is that these girls are like, it's like they're meant to, if they see an opportunity, they'll take it for money. They're money addicts. Money addicts. And what's misogynistic? No, when you hate men, that. And that I never thought strip clubs were fun. Were fun, in my opinion. Like if you're gonna get one, get a girl, pay her. I don't need to go to a strip club. But I guess they go so that other people can watch. I imagine, but I always believe that strip clubs were overrated. I never went with them. In fact, I never been to a strip club ever in my life. My friends have, but not me. I've done other things.
cranky because he couldn't handle his alcohol very well. So I remember, like on my last night at the club, he he asked all the girls to make a contribution because I was leaving, and of course I'd worked with a lot of them for quite a few years, and I used to do favors for the girls, point customers in their direction and help them out with stuff and whatever, and go and get them drinks and go and get them food from down the road and whatever they wanted. So I was kind of their go-to for doing all this stuff. And a lot of the girls obviously wanted to give me a goodbye tip, because I've been there like quite a few years, and that was fine. But there was a few girls that didn't know me that well. They were quite new, and they didn't want to pay me a tip because they didn't really know who I was. They'd only just met me. So the owner of the club puts on a bit of paper on this big whiteboard at the end. So we're going to have a party, a leaving party, and he puts a line down the middle and he writes all the girls' names down it and then how much they've each given me in my card. And then on the other side, he's got these girls' names and they haven't donated anything on the card. So the first thing he does, he says, Paul's leaving. We're all very sad about that. But if you look behind you, here's what everyone thinks about Paul. And those three girls that haven't donated any money, get your stuff and go. And he didn't say go, he said a much ruder version. And he basically sacked them on the spot, which I was begging him, saying, please don't do that. That's ridiculous. You don't need to do that. But he was absolutely off it on brandy at the time. So that was it. Mind made up. He never changed his mind afterwards, and he just got rid of them on the spot. And that
I mean, that just shows you that it's not a business where they want your well being. A lot of these guys that do run women like this, some of them are psychopaths or sociopaths. Some of them, there's something wrong with them. I'm just gonna be honest with you, because you can't see that much pain. You can't see so many people doing stuff that they're ashamed of doing and be okay with it, and just go to sleep. Like you gotta have a certain coldness about you that you're okay with it.
set the scene for, a pretty awful party after that. We had some pretty good parties there. He often used to get legless with his mates, and then for whatever reason, because I guess I was quite muscular, him and his mates would often decide that I should do a lap dance, and I should get dressed up, which I used to refuse at first, because they would offer me £100, and I would say I'm not dancing around for £100. But they were very rich, these guys, so the money would go up and up, and in the end they would say, look, £500 to, you know, dance around in a G-string. And I would think, well, £500, that's a decent amount of money. So then I come out in a cowboy hat and a G-string and a bra top, and I'm going to be doing a lap dance. I don't care. It's £500. And that happened.
Hey, look, bro, as long as you don't record it, we'll have fun. I'm gonna have fun with that lap dance. I don't give a fuck. As long as we don't record it. Look, don't touch me, nigga. Don't you fucking dare. I ain't touching no dick. I love that shit. One time, in fact, give me the money first. I want the money first. Give me the money first. I want that money. Fuck that shit, man. I'm a, like, yeah, like, but you know, that's how they get you. That's how you become a stripper. Cause you sort of downplay the act and exaggerate how much the money is. Damn, they could have gotten me too. Fuck.
Happened quite a few times. I ended up actually doing modelling for that club because they used to do hen parties there on a Saturday afternoon, and they wanted a guy that would do like nude modelling for a sort of like a fun life drawing class. So I ended up doing that because I was pretty muscular at the time.
Nothing wrong with nude modeling. We have nude modeling here all the time. It's okay.
And that was good fun. That was always a good laugh.
Yeah,
and
no
I enjoyed myself doing that.
Wait, they had nude modeling
the
at
way
the club?
the strip club actually worked was
That's funny.
way different to what I thought it was going to be, and it certainly wasn't the standardized strip club that you imagine from films and stuff like that. The girls were very much in control, and it was a very like strong feminine environment. On the downside to that, because of the nature of the work's like gambling, right? Like I said, the girls pay money to come to this place, and then they hope that some customers are going to come in, and they hope that they're going to get picked. So it's like a gamble every night. But they kind of get addicted to that style of making money, because some nights they could make like £1,000 cash, walk out with £1,000 cash, and they put in 50. So it's like gambling on a slot machine. Other nights they're minus 50 quid plus a drinks bill, because they haven't got any dances, they got nothing. But they would get kind of addicted to that lifestyle,
and that attracts a certain kind of woman. This type of lifestyle works best with people with addictive personality. Just like sales. In sales, you're not gonna, you can make nothing, or you can make a lot of money. And usually the people who are really good at that are people with addictive personalities. Guys who could do. In fact, if you have addictions. If you have any form of addiction, your brain is wired for those types of activities. Because if you have addictions, your brain is wired to feel a lot of pain and a lot of pleasure. Meaning, if you had a good day, your brain will remember that good day, because that's how an addict's brain works. But it's gonna obsess about having another good day like that. Even if you have bad days, your addictive brain is gonna say, oh, But last time we had a good day. Let's go. You become very assertive and very competitive. In fact, if you have ADHD, that's perfect for you too. Perfect. Autism. No, is it? No, I don't think autism. Well, neurodivergency tends to release a lot of dopamine. So
where when they went to get a normal job, it just didn't have that buzz anymore. They weren't gambling anymore to get that money, and getting paid like a standard £80 a day is nowhere near as exciting as someone saying you might get 1,000. We'll see how it goes, and by the way, you can have a few drinks while you wait. That's definitely more attractive, right? What more exciting, especially if you're a younger person.
I'm gonna stop it. I remember when I worked at a what you would call it, at a supermarket, putting bags, and sometimes people would tip me. I remember hearing that one guy made $50 in 2000, in the year 2001, $50 doing that. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, you can make $50 in one day. I was like, shit, sign me up. I remember, man, every time I went to that job, some days I'll make 12. But then one time I made $50. I remember I was in the zone. And guess what? I have an addictive personality. These time and sometimes in trauma causes addictive personalities. Isolation, well, not isolation, but trauma causes those types of personalities. Neglect causes addictive personalities a lot of the times. So you can see how it attracts the traumatized inadvertently.
A lot of the girls found it really hard to get out of the industry and into that because they'd become so institutionalized into that sort of gambling, exciting lifestyle. It was also, in their eyes, quite glamorous because they get to turn up, they're working in the evening, they're, dressing up, they're putting all the makeup on, and they've got this power over these guys, because they're in a controlled environment. They had me
Mm-hmm.
stood there
They get addicted to
making
their
sure none
power.
of these guys did anything outrageous. So it was controlled, it was safe. And then these girls could absolutely dominate these guys and just fleece all their money out of them. So it was a very, very
It's crazy.
powerful female environment to that degree, but somewhat unrealistic because when these girls went out into the real world where they didn't have a doorman stood next to them making sure that they were all right, that stuff may not have worked because not
And
all guys are nice guys,
time out.
and if
I imagine some of these girls got fell in love with him because they started projecting. They felt comfortable around him. They saw him as a protector, and so they fell in love with him. I am pretty sure that's what happened a lot of
you
times.
start sort of throwing your feminine power around with some guys in the world, they're going to throw some masculine power back at you, and it's not going to end too well. And that's, I'm not saying that's good at you, and it's not going to end too well. And that's, I'm not saying that's good. I'm saying that that's the reality, that there's some unpleasant people out there. So it was an environment that maybe taught the girls some behaviours that wasn't particularly safe outside of that environment, and it was an environment that gave the girls some unrealistic expectations about money and about how much money's worth and how you earn money, and the sort of responsibilities that come with taking a job, slowly working your way up. Because in that job they could just walk in off the street with nothing, and then they're earning £1,000 one night. Really tempting, and then you go for a job as like a office junior or something, and they say it's £80 a day, and it will take you a year to better that. You're not going to be interested.
That they're addicted to the money. They'll sacrifice their self-esteem for quick money. That's pretty much it. It's an addiction to money. Men get addicted to sex, women get addicted to money. Men provide the money, women provide the sex. It's a symbiotic addiction. Each one resents each other. Each one hates each other. What are you gonna do about that, man?
So it kind of sets them up
Failure.
for it doesn't set them up well for a proper career, and a career
Proper.
that's got really good,
Proper.
strong outcomes. A lot of the girls became exposed to drugs and alcohol through the club because, of course, a lot of the patrons would be doing that. A lot of the girls just did it themselves because that's the kind of people
Or
that
the girls with
would be
pressure
attracted to
the other
the working
girls.
in those places, was really gregarious party type personalities.
After
So of course,
parties.
along with that personality would often come some drugs and alcohol, and if you add to that large amounts of money that you haven't had to work very hard to get hold of, it didn't take long for people to become cokeheads and really serious drug problems. So that was a downside of it as well.
And that's when they get ugly and get out of the industry. Ah, Lord, I feel so bad for them, man. I feel bad for the guys. I feel bad for the girls. I hope and it's an industry that'll never stop. There's always going to be sex addicts, and there's always going to be the women who provide the supply. And it's really about it's really about like, I don't know, man. Like it's something that's never going to go away, and that's why I'm always going to have a job.
Out of probably, say, 500 girls I saw working in that club, or clubs that I worked in, there were probably two that were very successful in that they funded their university education through working there, and then they left, and then I never saw them again. And I sometimes think about those girls. They were really nice girls, And they were two girls that I really think probably went somewhere in life because they were very professional. They didn't come in drinking. They got the work done. They earned good money, and then they left and they never came back to that lifestyle. And hopefully they both went and got really good jobs after getting a great education at university. And if there was one positive thing I'd say about strip clubs, it is that they can be used for that, but it takes discipline. Like everything in life, you can use life in many different ways. There's many caveats in life that you can kind of use for good or bad. Those girls were using it for something really good, and the girls that were just stuck in the institutionalized sort of existence of working in that strip club, generally things didn't end too well for them.
Wow. Whoa. What can we learn from this? Well, most of the guys that go to strip clubs are lonely. They're not assholes. They make themselves broke. They go into debt, I imagine. I imagine that the ones with their own businesses get their stuff repossessed by the government. They get in trouble with the IRS. What else? The women there, they fight each other. They're very look, man. That's a wild place to be, man. That's a wild place to be. I mean, um, and man, I don't know what to say, man. I'm just little shocked by how insane that whole world is. It really is insane, man. Anyways, we gotta go, man. If you guys wanna work with me one-on-one, go to mindfultraction.org. Go to Patreon, people. In Patreon, we post videos we don't post here. It's a good way to look at this. I'm about to make this drop. It's a video about how to appear dangerous. It's a Robert Greene book club video. So you guys can check it out. I'm about to release it right now. Boom. For paid members only. This is gonna be out in like 2 days. So if you guys are part of the Patreon gang, 5 days as well. Let's go with 2 days, man. Come on, man. 5 days is wild as shit. We could go off for Friday. Yeah, it's gonna be up in 3 days. It's a 30-minute video about how to become dangerous as part of the 30 strategies of war. How to deter people by looking threatening. You could join there by just becoming a $5 member. All right. Anyways, you guys be safe.